everyone to Breaking Into Tech. We're doing a bonus episode with Alexa, and we're going to be talking about the work she does at Sabio. So if you're watching, feel free to put where you're watching from. And if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat, and we'll get to as many as we can. So thank you so much, Alexa, for being on the show. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
So let's start with a little bit about your background, about who you are, where you grew up, and just any other things you think we need to know about you.
Yeah, so I'm originally from a really small town in Iowa. It's called Pella, Iowa. There's less than 10,000 people in my hometown, little farming community. I call it a little bubble. Nothing bad ever happens there. I went to college in my hometown as well, and I studied elementary education. I got endorsements in special ed reading and coaching. And then I played volleyball all the way through my college career as well. My junior year, I had the opportunity to study abroad for a semester. And so I went to Bangor, Wales, and then I traveled. I was done with classes every Tuesday around 4. So that left from Wednesday to Sunday for me to travel all over the UK. And I fell in love just with people, if that makes sense. And I was like, oh my gosh, where are you going? Where are you going? It was so different for me coming from a small town. It was a very, I call it black and white lifestyle. You just do your checklist every single day. So I fell in love with the city and the idea of opportunities. And I decided as soon as I graduated, I knew I wanted to be in a city. So fast forward a year and a half after I finished my student teaching, I ended up having 10 job offers for elementary education out here. So I kind of got to choose the direction I wanted to go. I taught and coached for 3 years before I decided education was not for me in that aspect, just because of financial reasons. I was working 4 jobs, coaching in the morning, coaching after, teaching all day, and then I was a waitress at night. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm pumping all of these skill sets into kids and individuals to make their dreams come true. But I'm really struggling, especially in the city. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona now. So one of the top biggest cities within the U.S., but it's very expensive, and I was not making it. So I decided to shift into more of an admin role and start working with adults. So I've worked for 3 different schools now that I can remember off the top of my head, and kind of switched over to, like I said, admin, and now I'm here at Sabio.
I was going to ask because you said education and big city, and I was like, those 2 things usually are really hard to like financially make ends meet because teachers don't get paid enough to live in big cities, which is ironic because you need more teachers in big cities. And so it's like, doesn't quite, compute. But I was wondering if that was part of your story. So that's really interesting to hear.
It was. There was a lot behind my story. I don't like to dive too much into it, but like you said, with cities and teaching in low socioeconomic schools with special ed background, I spent a lot of time helping and nurturing and also getting attacked at the same time. And we went through lockdowns and guns, and I was like, wow, okay, I'm not even making 30,000. Again, I have to work 4 jobs just to be able to pay my own bills. I'm in a dangerous situation every single day. I can't do this from the age of 22 for the rest of my life. I had to figure something out. So yes, I did switch, but I'm still in education. Obviously, I'm here. I'm working with Sabio, so I never really left the education part. I just found an avenue that also set me up for success, doing what I love at the same time.
Yeah, I love how you like shift your focus in a way that you could financially be independent and not have to like work an insane amount of jobs, but you got to stay with your passion of education. So what was that shift like to go from like teaching in a school to starting to do more of the admin side of the house? Were there any challenges along the way?
I would say there's a challenge in any kind of career shift because, again, my whole background was 2+2 and working with kids or working with special needs. So diving into adults and also just a whole different aspect of education, learning different degrees and what else is out there was definitely a challenge. But I think it's where I relate to our student base so much because, 1, I know what it's like to feel stuck. 2, I know what it's like to go into that fear zone of the unknown, and we're going to challenge it because there's no way I can go back to what I was doing. So I have to. And then obviously, like I said, I've worked for 3 different schools. So one of them was an online university. I was learning associates and bachelor's and master's degree of all different sorts, math, English, business, psychology, I went into a nursing school before COVID had happened. So then I learned all about healthcare. I got a master's in healthcare. So I tackled that avenue, which was completely different than 2+2. And then I switched over to software engineering and boot camps. So yes, I would say it's a challenge in every single one, but when there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've moved in different directions, partly because you were learning new things. But what led you to go to Sabio? You said you got your master's in healthcare, so it seemed like you were on that track. And then you mentioned the pandemic. I didn't know if that had anything to do with it.
Yeah, so I was working for the nursing school, but you have to have a passion in what you're doing, which I learned very quickly as well. And unfortunately, in that situation, I was I was helping individuals get into a 3-year program, but it cost over 6 figures just to go to school. And again, coming from my background, I knew we weren't really setting them up for success. Yes, they were going to be able to get into nursing and it was going to be an accelerated program, but they were never going to be able to pay off the loans that they were taking out. I sat there. I went and I got an elementary education degree and I sat there thinking, oh my gosh, I'm never going to make it. I can't even touch these loans. So it made it very hard to not convince someone to do it, but I didn't feel good about what I was doing. So I knew I needed to get out of that. And then with COVID, I will say that kind of pushed me out of healthcare. Obviously, I was like, whoa, this is a lot. I think we all kind of did that. So not to dive too much into that, but I just kind of changed again my passion. It still was, I want to help people and I want to make other individuals who feel stuck know that there's avenues that you can get unstuck and you can really set yourself up for success, your family for success. And it just happened that I found Sabio and I saw what they were doing. And that is exactly what a friend did for me just in the education avenue. And this is just, if you enjoy computers, if you enjoy software, if you enjoy coding, this is a 4-month program that can literally change your life. I had one person advise me to get into admin and leave my elementary ed, and it changed my life. It set me up for success and I can still do my passion. So Sabio matched everything I wanted to give, just in a program sense that I just didn't know yet.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I love hearing like how your story is very similar. It's a different, career field, but very similar in the fact that like you took this leap of faith and you switched and made a pivot, and that's the same thing that the students who are going through Sabio are going through. So you have like a relatable story where you can tell them like, no, this really did change my life and it's worth the time and investment to make that switch happen.
It's definitely hard not to like love what you're doing when I see us change people's lives every single day. And like I said, Sabio changed my life every single day. And I'm not even the coder. So just, I believe in everything that we do here and the individuals that are a part of Sabio. I've never seen a family, quote unquote, in a work setting like what we have here.
Yeah, I get that same feeling doing the interviews with graduates and like seeing how their life completely has changed. It's usually like a year or 2 out from graduation that I'm interviewing them, and it's like their life has completely changed. They're in a job making close to or over 6 figures, and they just talk about how it was really scary to take that leap and it took a lot of hard work and effort, but now their life is changed because they have this financial stability that they didn't have before, and they they almost couldn't believe that's what was going to come on the other side, which is why I think this podcast is so important, because now you have stories from graduates who are talking about how their life was changed and you can hear it directly from them, and it gives you a little bit extra motivation.
Oh, I agree. And I think we get it not even just from our graduates. I mean, I was had the opportunity, 2 Fridays ago, to interview Gregorio, and same thing, to leave a degree and his background and to take that leap of faith into fear and look at what's become of it. I don't think any of us have sat there on the other side when we are scared to take this step that we thought it would be here.
Right.
It's always hindsight is 2020, but I'm so thankful that I made that switch. I know Gregorio is so thankful that he dove into the tech industry and believed in himself. I know Liliana is so proud that she believed in him and pushed him to continue with Sabio. So it's not even just the graduates; it's every single one of us on every avenue, which I think that's what makes us the family. If that makes
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, I've got to interview Gregorio twice, and the first one was about his story, and it was so inspiring to hear like how he took that leap, how he saw like the path forward in the career field that he was trained to do, and was like, I'm, even if I make it to the top, this is the most money that I'm going to make, and like how am I going to support my family? And I think a lot of people go into like college or a certain career and they don't, because we're young and we don't have the benefit of like understanding how to look out in the future. We don't realize what we're getting into. And so to hear his story and to be able to know that he was able to make the change and like to see it throughout different people who work at the company, I think that's really great.
Definitely. We all walk our own like avenues of life, but I think a lot of us just kind of took the steps of college and doing what we were told to do because it's what we thought you had to do. And now, like you said, there's so many of us that are looking for that escape or that next step. And where do we go for that? So
Yeah, and finding a way to find like your passion and financial stability and putting them together in a way, especially something that doesn't require you to spend 4 years going to college, but instead 4 months of, completely changing your life.
or $100,000,
Right. Exactly. So we haven't actually talked about what you do at Sabio. I got so excited in your story, which is great. But what exactly are you doing at Sabio?
So I wear multiple hats here at Sabio, but my favorite hat I would say is working. I'm a director of admissions, so I not only help run our team of admissions advisors, but I also have daily conversations with potential students. I help break down the program. I help tell you what is expected, how to set you up for success if it's the right fit, how to tackle any concerns, finances, and really find that path. We're a team. So if you're dancing with me, we're going to find a way and you're going to make it. I also run some of our info sessions, so you can hop on every Monday at 12 and you can dive more and get a visual at the same time, so it's not just a phone conversation. I also do our success stories and different interviews with individuals that have graduated from Sabio. I am interviewing our career services team and Zach, some of our instructors as well on our Instagram page. So really just a voice and a help avenue, honestly, is what I like to call that. Well,
Yeah.
counselor.
And you talked about like one-on-one help, but why are the info sessions such a great resource? Is it because there's other people there and they could ask a question that you might not know, or what's the best thing about attending an info session?
I think that whenever you're going to tackle something new, having a visual is just more beneficial than having the conversation. We can talk back and forth all day, and there's a lot of things that could be overlooked or you just don't remember, and visuals help it stick. It helps go into your long-term memory. So we're just re-going over the conversation that you had. I think with info sessions, they're more generalized because, again, it is going over the schedule and the hours and the financing and the scholarships. Now, when you have the one-on-one conversation with me, I can personalize it towards you. But I just think having that visual of what we're talking about, now it's tangible. It's like going into a store. Okay, I want those jeans. You're seeing it. You know what it's going to look like. And we also have our alumni in there. So again, individuals that have gone through this program, other people who have found a way and been able to match the full-time schedule, finance this out, and have also been successful. So it's a great place to ask the tech questions that I might not be able to answer. I'm not the software person. I have not gone through the boot camp. My passion is helping others. It's not problem solving and coding. I'll problem solve for you guys and help you find a way to do this, but it's not something that I can answer those questions. So I think it just adds that tangible aspect to what you're doing, and it gives you that reassurance that it's real and it's possible, and there's support in every single avenue. I don't know. I just think there's a lot of value in them.
Yeah, it sounds like I was in the Air Force, so I always say like Air Forcey things, but it's like the 30,000 foot view, and then you get down into like the technical details on the one-on-one. But you need that like high level picture so that you can see all the things going on. If you get too far in the weeds, you can miss like some of the big points that are important to cover, but might not come up in like a one-on-one discussion if you're just focused on a certain area. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
I mean, if it was a perfect world and I was on Amazon, I'd be looking at the reviews and I'd pick a 5.7 model that, and I like, it's a visual. I think I like those, but give me a little bit more. So I don't know, like you said, let's really dive into it in that technical aspect of things.
Yeah. So, what is your favorite resource that Sabio offers that you think people interested in software engineering should know about?
My favorite resource would have to be the family. Again, if you join Sabio and you go through our program, you are part of the family and there's so much support. So from the time that you book a 10-minute one-on-one with our admissions team, we're going to help find a way. If you're doing that dance with us, there's no problem that we can't solve. It might not be today, it might be in a month, it might be in 2, but we're going to help you solve it. And from there, you dive into some of the most talented instructors that I've ever met. The way that they break down lessons, again, coming from my background in education, really fosters your long-term knowledge. We match the industry, the structure of what you're about to enter. That's learning by doing. Again, if you are going through code talks and code reviews, your instructors are never giving you an answer. They constantly ask you why. What do you think is supposed to happen from this? And that allows you to problem solve in the program. Knowing that they all clock in over 50 hours a week and they're senior instructors, they've been here from start to finish, I think is night and day to programs that I have seen all across other universities. You learn by doing, you learn through experience, and they are just passing that on. I think Gregorio's story and where he came from and how he's seen technology change from the very beginning to where we are at now is a beneficial resource, a hidden gem per se. Like you can't say that every single boot camp out there has an original. That's like one of the OGs. So again, that makes us stand out. And then our career services is night and day. I remember going through my own career services and I didn't get help writing a resume. I didn't build a LinkedIn page until I came to Sabio. And again, they wanted me to set that up, even though I'm already here, you know, and that's important. The alumni, the referral program, the life services that you have from algorithm. I mean, every single aspect is so well thought out. I don't think there's one resource. Once you're a part of the family, you're a part of it. And I think when you think of like your own brother or sister, no matter what happens in life, I have their back. I will show up and I will find a way to make it easier for them or fix a problem. And that's what we do here. So just depending on what part of the phase you're in, you're taken care of. And I don't think you can find that just anywhere.
Yeah, and after graduation, it's not over. Like your alumni keep coming back. You have your Slack channel. And so like all the resources that you mentioned all are related to that family community feel of what, Sabio is doing. And I think it is a testament because I mean, the graduates are so thankful for what has happened and so many of them are still involved, mentoring students, helping people find jobs. It's really is a family aspect and I think that it's just a really cool company to be a part of. And then it's just great how they're changing people's lives. It's really a
I mean,
cool
how
thing
many
to see.
people can say that they're making above 6 figures, probably clock in part-time hours on a full-time job, working remotely, have the opportunity just to go out, be with their family, do whatever they want, because again, they're making bank, but they choose to come back and dedicate time to Sabio and making sure that other individuals know about this program because of what it did for them. I think just in that and alone, I don't know that many people that once they've made it are trying to make sure everyone else can make it. They're just so thankful they made it. But here, again, with the family, they can't just leave. They're like, no, other people need to know about it. And they come and they help and they give so much of their time to make sure that people know about it. And I think that's what stands out too, is just, again, I don't know that many people that are willing to save other people's lives. Once they've made it, they're good.
Yeah, it really reminds me of the veteran community, which is really hard to find in the civilian sector. And so it's really, for me as a veteran, to be around a group of people who are like supporting each other and it's not military related. It's really refreshing because it reminds me of the military and veteran community, how people are supporting each other, trying to bring people up and having all these resources and having it not in like, that's the best part I think about like military service is that you have this veteran community when you leave. It's just like Sabio, you go through the boot camp and then you still have this great resource and community after you begin your tech career.
100%.
Yeah. So I guess we already talked a little bit about this, but why is Sabio's bootcamp program a great option for students? Do you have, besides the resources, why is it a great option?
It's a 4-month program. that literally can change your life. I've seen it. I want to say daily, because I honestly have seen it daily. It just depends on, like you said, when the alumni come back and they're like, hey, I made it. You know, it might not be right after they graduate. It might not be their first month of work, but they always come back and they tell you what happened, and just seeing it come full circle. It's a 4-month program. I know right now in the months of July, August, and I believe our September cohort, we have a huge scholarship. You can get our program almost at $10,000 again, and your return of investment is a flexible work life. It's a remote setting, and most likely a 6-figure salary that can only go up. Like, it's not like you make 6 figures and then your boss is like, I'm going to drop you down to 80 this year, and then next year I'm going to drop you to like, no, it's the opposite. Like, you're at 100 this year, you're at 120 next year, 150 the year after that, and you're only growing within this tangible skill set. I have gone through so many life changes, you know, like, I don't know. The first one that came to mind was my weight loss journey, where I lost over 100 pounds. It took me a year to do it, and to see that return on it. Like, it's a 4-month program. Like, that's a summer vacation. It's, I don't know. It's insane that you can do something for 4 months and have that big of a change in your life returning from it. Any change that I've ever had to make has taken over a year to see return on investment. And none of them have brought a 6+ figure salary that only clocks at 28 hours. Like, just do it. I don't know.
Yeah. I like the 4-month comparison, especially because most universities are 4 years. So if you think about, like, you're taking all that, you know, and it's not like a university, it's very different, but it's actually like hands-on training that prepares you. And in a way, it's something that I talked to someone who got a degree in software engineering from a university, but he didn't have the hands-on skills of what he needed. And so he needed to go and do, you know, extra courses after he finished. But Sabio teaches you not only how to do the coding, but like the hands-on on how to do it. And it's only 4 months, and then it's over.
It's not even a semester of college. Again, right. I might have the unique experience because I played volleyball and did it, but I was in class every single day from morning to afternoon. I wasn't like taking naps. And then I went to my athletics afterwards. And then I was studying. 4 months isn't even a semester of what I did in my degree. And like you said, the experience aspect, I didn't get an experience until my last 6 months of my college degree. And that's when I got to do my student teaching. And then I went through and had to go and take a test to even enter the field and show that I was capable of being a teacher. And I'd have to keep renewing on that test. And then I had to go apply for jobs. Like, that's a 4.5, 5-year process in itself. Yeah. And I didn't get experience until the end. Like, this is a 4 month, it's not even a semester of college. And again, in my experience, college was matching what we do in this boot camp. I had to dedicate just as much time to my college career as an individual dedicates their 4 months here.
Yeah. And you get that, you know, you get to work with a company, like you get to do your cohort class and work with a company, learn what it's like to, you know, be a software engineer right as you're beginning your career, and or even before you begin your career, because you haven't even graduated.
Apprenticeship here, like 6 weeks of your training is experience. And again, when you compare that in a 4 month, like, it's just mind boggling.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so great to hear about. So what makes Sabio stand out from other boot camp programs? Because there's a lot of, you know, boot camp programs out there. What would you say that makes Sabio stand out from the other ones?
I feel like one is Gregorio. I truly believe he is a hidden gem in knowing how he can write the curriculum, and he has just seen how technology has changed. He knows what's important. He knows what's important to learn. He talked a lot about that on our Instagram Live. Technology is always changing, so we're constantly trying to filter out, you know, what is going to stick and what's not. And he has so much knowledge in that. So to be able to pick the right curriculum, what's going to be the highest in demand, what's the most important to learn so that you can continually change with tech. Again, I think he's a hidden gem. There's not many boot camps or colleges that can say they have an original OG, is what we'll call him. Again, having all of our senior instructors, that changes things. Again, they've learned. When I went through my program and I thought I wanted to be the magical elementary teacher, I was not kind of rude to say, but I didn't respect the teachers that have never taught. They weren't in it. They didn't go through an experience of the kids throwing a tantrum or behaviors. I needed someone who went through it so they could give me their experience. Senior instructors are going to be able to do that. That's their whole title. That the fact that they clock in over 50 hours a week, there's no reason you can't have as much individual time as you need to be successful. So whatever your learning style is, we can match that. Our end goal is to set you up for success. We can slow it down. We can speed it up. We can give you a higher skill set than your cohort. We can really individualize that. I've only seen schools individualize programs for special needs education because you need to alter it for their needs, right? We alter it whether you are the smartest person in the cohort or we need to take it 2 steps slower so that you still are successful. I have not seen that. It's you're out, you're done. Like you can't do that. Like, no, like we have the end goal of setting you up for success and making sure you can accomplish that. And we need the instructors to be able to do that. And then career services. It's night and day compared to anything that I've ever been a part of in education.
Yeah. And when you were talking about Gregorio, I was thinking about the second podcast I did with him, which was about AI. And in that interview, he was talking about how they're working on, changing the course to incorporate AI to make sure that, the course is staying current. So it's not like a fixed, locked in thing that every class is the same and everything is the same. I mean, you're working with companies, so you're meeting the needs of what companies need right when, that's happening, because they're a real company that needs the coding help. And then also, like, the instructors are learning, everybody's learning, and everybody's trying to stay current with what's going on so that you can make sure that the students get the best experience possible.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've been here for almost 3 years and I've seen us change this program every time like it needed to be changed. I've seen us change it from the 13-week. I've seen us change it to the 17-week to add guidance. I've seen us add on different parts of career services. I've seen them change the curriculum in order to match what's out there. Like you said, it's not a fixed thing. It's not something that they're using the same curriculum as before. We are constantly changing it to make sure it's the best and it's setting our student up for the most success once they graduate.
Yeah, and another thing you mentioned was like how it's customized and like that it's based on like where you're at. I've heard students who've gotten ahead, and one student, he was under vet tech, so he couldn't graduate early, but he got to do not only the cohort with the class before him, but then the cohort with his class, so he got double experience because he was, moving at such a fast rate. And then other people have needed extra help and they've gotten the extra help they needed. So it is, not only is it changing in the fact that it's like staying current with technology, it's also changing in the fact that it's customized to what your life situation, what your learning, situation is, how quickly you catch on to different things. And I love hearing that aspect of it, that it's, you move forward and you unlock things as you get through them, and not, oh, well, no one else is ready, you have to wait. It's everyone, you just keep moving forward and working together to get to where you need to be.
Yeah, there's really not that many programs out there that can say that they do the same thing. Like,
and then the last thing you touched on, sorry, did I cut you off?
I said I haven't seen it. So besides here, I see it here.
And then the last thing that you touched on was career services. So can we talk, I know we touched on it a little bit at the beginning, but what exactly are the career services that are offered when you're graduating from Sabio?
Yeah, so I think the first and the main thing that we start to tackle is building a resume, especially to add your demo and your apprenticeship on there. That's going to change everything. It's what companies are going to be looking for. I think doing the mock interviews is a big one. There's a lot of different levels to interviews within software. So preparing and making sure that you go through practice rounds for each round that you're about to hit and what that looks like, I think is important. We help build up your LinkedIn. Obviously, we need to be using not just any platform to be applying for jobs. We need to be using the right avenues. And with LinkedIn, it really incorporates our referral and our alumni mentorship. And I think that's what makes all of the difference. Once you have a locked in resume and you feel like you have your interview answers ready to go, you have a mentor that has also gone through this process and what to expect and be that sounding board. I call it chasing no's. The more no's you get, you're closer to your yes or the position you're supposed to have. But it can also be frustrating to hear those no's. I'm not saying that's an easy process. It's hard to always have that mental battle back and forth of it's coming, it's coming. But so having a mentor to just guide you or to repractice things, or all right, we didn't get the first two, let's relook at things. We need to change an answer here. I think it makes all the difference. And like I said, with the referral process, if you want to go work at Amazon, we have an entire channel dedicated to Amazon employees and our alumni that went to go work there. Let's get you connected with somebody who works at Amazon. I mean, most of my positions that I've gotten in life are because of who I know and then how hard I work, and I can match that. So it is about who you know in some cases, and especially with software, let's use that referral process. At least you can get an interview and now you get to show what your tangible skill set. I think that we have the algorithm and methodology courses that you can come and attend. So I know on the front end, the big concern for students is we don't cover Python or we don't cover this language. And what if I want a job that offers that? Okay, we think that you're going to be able to do it because we're teaching you something that's a higher level, and the trickle effect obviously would show that you could pick that lower language up. But if you cannot, come to our Agile and Scrum methodology. An instructor will help you conquer that language. We're not trying to take positions away from you. We're just trying to set you up for the highest in the demand and the most success. So to be able to graduate and earn a certificate, but still have instructors dedicate to teaching you something that we don't have to do so that you have success is an amazing resource. You have to choose to come to that, but we're here. I can go on and on and on.
Yeah. Well, there's so much. And one of the things that was standing out was, like how much work it takes to get a job. I think sometimes people are like, oh, the job market's hot or the job market's cold. But like, no matter what the job market is, there's all this work that goes into like, the first time I did an interview and I heard how many resumes the graduate from Sabio sent out, I was like, oh my goodness, like that's so many, like over 100 a day for like, over a week. It ended up being thousands of resumes so that he could get a job. And I didn't know that going out of college. I thought you just put a few resumes out there and boom, you get a job. But there's so much work, and then you have a support. Like you said, all those no's can be really discouraging, but that's part of the process. And when you have other people around you who are putting in that effort and working hard, and then you can celebrate when someone does get good news of getting a job, but you are in it together as a community and it's not just you on your own. I think you guys have a really good system and you show how it works, but it takes a lot of hard work. And I don't think a lot of people realize how much work it takes to find a job.
I will say it takes two to tango, and nothing worth it, comes easy. But I'm like embarrassed to even say how I thought the job happened after I graduated. Because again, in a college setting, I did not have a career services team. So I took my teaching test and I came home after I passed it and I looked at my parents and I said, okay, so like, when's the phone going to start ringing? And they're like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, don't they just like ship out a list to like the education? Like we have a place where you can go look up the standards. So I was like, don't they put a list of like new teachers and like people look at your stuff or how well you tested and they start calling you and giving you job offers? My parents were like, no, like you need like and so I thankfully had parents, that helped me and stuff, but I had to build that resume and then I had to go and figure out, okay, like what schools do I want to apply for? And how do you know like any of this? There was no guidance in it. And I don't think a lot of places have guidance in career services. So rather than being like myself and waiting for someone to call you, it's not going to happen like that. It is sending out, hundreds of applications out, but it's a community and a team effort and you're not doing it alone. So I think that's what makes all the difference.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. This has been really great. I want to wrap it up because we are now over time. I got a little distracted. But what was the last piece of advice that you would give someone who's considering a career in software engineering?
I think my first piece of advice is obviously dip your toes into coding or just like see what it is. You want to make sure that it's your passion. Like I said, I've had the opportunity to dip my toes in plenty of fields of education, and it took me a minute before I found the avenue that I really wanted to stay in. But make sure that it's something you would enjoy because it's going to be your career. We don't want repeat settings. But if you're in a situation where you feel stuck and you don't feel like there's a way out, I promise you there is a way out. And we're just one of those avenues within tech. So pick up the phone, book an appointment. The worst thing that can happen is, again, not right now, but maybe we can create a plan for 6 months or a year from now. We're not going anywhere. And you don't have to stay stuck. You don't have to work 4 jobs. You don't have to be the Uber driver picking up extra change. You don't have to go and do a pyramid scheme and online sales and sharing posts to make money. You can really change your life at any point, whether you're fresh out of high school, whether you have a college degree and you are sitting in debt and loans, or you're just needing to get out of physical labor of a position and you want to sit and work remotely. Whatever it is that you feel stuck, there's a way out, and there's people and schools that want to help you find a way to enjoy your life, basically.
Yeah, thank you so much for all your advice and information. And if people want to attend an info session, can you repeat the time that your info session is? And there's a link in the description, so if people want to sign up, they can go check it out.
Thank you for adding that. Mine's Mondays at 12, so I will be there in like an hour and a half.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for watching. If you're watching the replay, feel free to ask questions and we'll come back and answer them. And just thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.